Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's agricultural sciences lesson. My name is Zulu Fezega. This lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. Remember, we are still preparing for our June examination, the first proper and official examination of the year. You're first, I'm very excited. And please remember the date has been released and you are writing on the 19th of June, 2025, of which will be on Thursday. I'm very excited about that one. Now, with that being said, let us continue. Remember, we are still doing our revision, our proper revision. And today our focus is on the animal production. We are just raising the farm animals in different ways. Now, let's get into it. Learners, by the end of this lesson, firstly, you should be able to describe and compare intensive and extensive production systems, be able to distinguish subsistence and commercial farming systems, identify different structures used for sheltering that acts as a house, as a shelter, state the basic guidelines for handling large farm animals, indicate the guidelines of transporting farm animals. As we all know that after raising the farm animals, they will have to be transported, right? Whether to abattoirs or to other farms. So what are or what will be the guidelines of transporting those farm animals? Now, learners, please take note when answering questions. Remember what I said on my previous lessons, that you must follow the instructions at all times and take note of the following questions. Like, for instance, a question that requests you to define. Now, when a question asks you to define, you are expected to give the full meaning of the term. Like, for instance, define shelter. A house that is used to protect farm animals against predators and extreme weather conditions. There is a definition, right? Secondly, a question that requests you or asks you to explain. Now, when explaining, you must provide in details or you must provide in full sentences. Like, for instance, if there is a question that is asking you to explain for 2 marks, you provide a single sentence, but in that sentence, you must mention 2 important things about that particular term or that particular concept or topic, right? Another one, a question will come and say, compare or distinguish. Now, when we are asking you to compare or distinguish between 2 variables or factors, right, you are expected to show the difference between to show the difference between 2 or more factors. What is the difference between intensive and extensive? Compare between intensive and extensive. You provide differences. So it's up to you whether you provide in a form of a table or you just write different sentences. But you need to understand that we are asking you or requesting you to provide the differences or to compare. A question that asks you to state. Now, when stating, you give, you provide, you name. Like, for instance, provide factors that are used to increase production. Nutrition, that is naming, right? You are providing, you are giving. General enterprise management, breeding or reproduction, that is stating, that is you stating, that is you naming. When we say we need 2 or state 2, write 2, because the first 2 will be the ones that will be marked, right? The third one will not be considered, right? Another question that is asking you to discuss. Now, when discussing, you write in details about something, giving different ideas as well as the argument about a topic. you discuss, you mention the most important things about a topic. You argue, you provide facts that is discussing, right? And the last question that is asking you to draw. When drawing, you show in a visual way or in a visual form. Now, when it comes to drawing, you can draw a table or we can ask you to draw a graph. But you need to understand that when drawing, you show in a visual way or in a visual form. So this is how you are expected to answer the questions. But before we even begin with our lesson, of which is based on animal production, let's look at our paper 1 structure. Now remember, you'll be writing out of 150, and these are the topics that will be included. Firstly, animal nutrition, that is your question 2, right? Animal production, protection, and control, as well as animal reproduction. And also, please let us take note that animal genetics is done in term 2, but it is done in term 2, but it will not be part of your examination or part of your junior examination. So the concept that you will be tested on, it is based on these topics or the following topics: animal nutrition, production, protection and control, and animal reproduction. Now, your question has, or your paper has 2 sections. Firstly, section A, and the second one, section B. Your section A is filled with short questions, and there is only one question, of which is question 1, that is out of 45 marks. Now, in that question 1, you will have multiple choice, column A and B, that includes both A only, B only, or none, right? Your 1.3, where you are expected to provide a term or a word that match with the description. 1.4, where you correct the underlined word that will match obviously with the description, right? In your question 2 to 4, you have your long questions, right? Your question 2 is animal nutrition. There are calculations, right? Your question 3, also, your question 2 is out of 35 marks. Your question 3 is animal production, protection, and control. Animal production as well as animal health are included, right? And then your last question, of which is question 4, will be based on animal reproduction, from reproductive systems up until the lactations. So this is how your paper or your June examination that you will be writing on the 19th of June 2025 looks like. Your question 3, as I've already indicated, that it contains animal production and animal health. And together these topics, they make up 50 marks. The whole question, they make up 50 marks. Now, in animal production, you need to understand and be reminded that we are dealing with different farmers raising farm animals for different reasons or for different goals. They have different goals in mind, right? Firstly, since we have different farmers, these farmers will raise farm animals for different reasons or for different purposes or for different goals. And those goals or reasons or purpose or purposes are referred to as the farming factors. Now, they are referred to as the farming systems, not factors, the farming systems. Now, there are 2 main farming systems. Firstly, we have the commercial farming system and the subsistence farming system. Remember, we speak of goals, the reasons, the purpose. What is the reason of raising farm animal A? What is the reason of raising farm animal B? Farmers raise farm animals for different reasons or for different goals. Now, let us start with the commercial farming system. Now, this farming system, it is where a farmer is producing on a large scale or produce on a large scale, meaning there is a large number of animals that are being raised under the commercial farming system. Now, a goal for commercial farming system is to sell and make profit, but not to feed our own families. It is to sell and make profit, meaning this farmer contributes much in our economy. Why? The farmer is making money. Now, to make money, there are different methods that are used. And these methods are called the modern ways, or the modern methods of using, or the modern methods of raising the farm animals. Now, upon using the modern or methods that include the technology, we want to maximize the production. And also remember, it also includes high capital investment. There is a use of technology, and we are raising large number of farm animals to sell and make profit. That is a goal. Now, another farming system that we have is the subsistence farming system, where a farmer will produce on a small scale. There are few farm animals that are being raised. Now, a goal is to feed their own families, right? Methods that are used are indigenous methods or traditional methods that we have inherited from our forefathers. Now, we are raising on there is a low capital investment. There is low input, while on a commercial farming system, there is a large or a high capital investment. Now, when raising these farm animals farm animals can be raised under two production systems. Production system one, it is the extensive, and another one, it is the intensive. Now, be able in the examination to differentiate or be able to identify production systems and farming systems. Now, when we speak of farming systems, we look at the goals, we look at the purpose. What is the purpose of raising these farm animals? It is to feed our own families, or it is to sell and make profit. But when it comes to the production systems, it is now us raising the farm animals. Animals can either be raised under extensive production system or be raised under the intensive production system. Now, let us look or compare these production systems based on the following topics. Now, when raising the farm animals, firstly, under the stocking rate, the stocking rate is not the same. Stocking rate being the number of farm animals in a particular area or a specific area. Now, when it comes to the extensive production system, the stocking rate will be low. We are dealing with the few number of farm animals in a large area. There is a low stocking rate. But under intensive, there is a high stocking rate. We are raising a large number of farm animals. Let us forget whether we are raising to sell and make profit or to feed our own families. But at the end of the day, intensive, large number of animals are being raised. Extensive, few number of animals are being raised, as it is shown by these pictures right here. This picture A, we have few farm animals that are being raised in a large piece of land. While in picture B, we have a large number of animals that are being raised in a small piece of land. Remember, the stocking rate or stocking density, it speaks of the number of farm animals in a particular area or in relation to the land that is available. Now let us look at the area occupied. For extensive, large land is occupied. Remember, we have few farm animals. But intensive, a small land is occupied, but there are a large number of animals. Capital investment. There is low capital investment under extensive. Why? There are few number of animals. While under intensive, there is high capital investment. Large number of animals is being raised. The input also, it applies to capital investment. There is low input under extensive and high input under intensive. And also the input, there is also labor input. Labor input, we have few labors under extensive and a large, or we have more laborers under intensive production system. The output, less animals will be produced, while under intensive, a high number of animals will be produced. The environment. For extensive production system, the environment is not modified to cater the needs of farm animals. Under intensive, the environment is modified to cater the needs of farm animals. The spread of diseases. Under extensive, there are few number of animals in a large piece of land. There is less spread of diseases. While under intensive, there is a more spread of diseases or a large spread of diseases due to the fact that there is a large number of farm animals in a small piece of land or in an enclosed area, an environment that is modified. When it comes to pollution, damaging the environment, extensive, there is low pollution. Why? Minimal chemicals are used. Remember, they raise farm animals by using traditional methods or organic fertilizers or organic ways or organic feeds that are used. But under intensive, there is high pollution or it damages more of the environment simply because there is high consumption or use of chemicals. So this is how you compare between extensive and intensive, or this is how we raise farm animals under extensive and under intensive production system. Now, there are various examples of intensive production system. Firstly, we have the depleter. Remember we said under intensive, the environment is modified. There is a provision of a shelter just to cater the needs of farm animals. Now, there are various examples of intensive production system. First example, it is the depleter that is applied when raising the chickens. Now, depleter is the same as the floor system, where animals are allowed to roam within an enclosed area with a floor covered with a bedding. It is the chickens that are raised or the pigs that are raised under the depleter system, where they are raised or they will be on the floor that is covered with bedding. The movement is restricted. They are catered for or they are provided with feed. There are lights. There is also a bedding that will act as an insulator. Another example of the intensive production system, it is the battery system, where chickens are kept in wire cages throughout their production period. And examples of chickens that are kept under this example, it is layers, those that are producing eggs. Remember, they are kept in wire cages throughout their production period up until they are done laying eggs. And this example of intensive production system, it is the battery system. They are in wire cages, while in deep litter, they are on the floor. Movement also, it is restricted. They are in an area that is enclosed, or a shelter that is enclosed. Right, another two examples of intensive production system. The free range system, where chickens or pigs are allowed to move freely in a large open space. Another example, the backyard, a system with a simple shelter where animals are allowed to roam freely. Now, be able to identify the backyard system and the free range. The backyard is used by individuals with enough space in their homes where they will turn garages, or they will change whatever shelter into the chicken shelter or the pig's shelter. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages of raising chickens or pigs under free range system or under backyard system. First advantage, it's very easy to manage animals raised under these examples of intensive production system. Secondly, these systems are environmentally friendly. They are environmentally friendly, right? And also, there is no need of purchasing much of the feed when using this system. But the disadvantages of using these two systems, it is that animals are exposed to predators, exposed to extreme weather conditions, and it may also lead to underfeeding, or underfeeding may take place or occur where animals receive less of nutrients, right? So these are the advantages and disadvantages of using or practicing the free range system and the backyard system under the intensive production system. Now, there are various factors that are used to improve or increase or optimize production under intensive and under extensive production system. Now, these factors we can name nutrition, we can name environment, we can name breeding or reproduction, or general enterprise management. You want to maximize production. These factors should be applied on both production systems, extensive and intensive. Now, how do we apply nutrition to maximize or optimize production under intensive? Animals should be provided with a balanced ration. Animals that are producing milk or meat, they must be provided with a ration rich in protein and sufficient fats and carbohydrates. Animals that are fattened for abattoir, for slaughter, they must be provided with more fat and carbohydrates and sufficient protein. And to measure this in a feed, we use the value called the feed conversion ratio. Now, a feed conversion ratio is a value that is used to measure how much an animal consumes in order to gain 1 kg of body weight. Now, when it comes to a balanced ration, feed will have to consume less and gain more weight. There is an indication that a feed is of good quality. But once the animals consume more and gain less, that feed is unbalanced. It indicates that it is unbalanced. The nutrients are not balanced. Why? Because for animals to gain more, they need to eat more. But if a ration has proper nutrition, they will consume less and gain more body weight. Now let us move to the extensive production system. Remember, these farm animals, they graze on natural pastures. Now, to optimize or maximize production, we must apply what is known as the rotational grazing to minimize or reduce or prevent overgrazing and to make sure that feed is available throughout the year for animals that are raised under extensive production system. Now, in a factor called environment, for intensive, there must be a provision of shelter to protect animals against predators or extreme weather conditions. Shelter must be provided. But under extensive, we must raise animals that adapt well in different environments. Or we can fence the area to protect them from predators, or we can plant trees also to protect them from extreme weather conditions, such as high temperatures. Right? Another factor called breeding or reproduction. When it comes to breeding, you breed or you allow animals that are genetically superior to mate so that they will give rise to offsprings that are also genetically superior. Animals that will be superior, that will be able to be resistant to diseases, to adapt well to various environments, or to produce high production. Same things apply to extensive. We mate animals that are genetically superior. Allow animals that are genetically superior to mate, a male and a female, so that it will give rise to more animals that will also be genetically superior. General enterprise management as a factor. It includes taking care of animal health, where we apply sanitation under intensive, and we also apply vaccination. Sanitation and vaccination. Sanitation, it includes disinfection. Shelters where animals are living, place must be dry, it must be clean, and it must be disinfected. Animals must be vaccinated to boost their antibodies or to boost their immune system so that they can stand against viral pathogens or diseases that are caused by pathogens. Right? When it comes to extensive, animals that are resistant to diseases must be raised. So this is how we apply various factors to optimize or maximize production under these different systems: extensive production system and intensive production system. Now let us go into our first activity of the day based on the farming systems and the production systems of farm animals. Right? I will only give you about 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes is fair for this one. And then we'll come back for more remedials.